What's happening, everybody? It's yours truly, Rocky and Bill, and we are here for the 2019-2020 NFL season recap. Happy 100th season for the NFL. Hopefully, they'll have 100 more seasons to go. To continue on, I mean. What an interesting season. Here's how I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down with the teams that did not make the playoffs, the record, what I think was their biggest win, and their biggest loss. And then I'll go to the playoff teams, who they won, who they lost to, and then we'll just go on from there. So, that being said, let's get started. We first got the Arizona Cardinals, who finished the season 5-10-1. They tied with Detroit in the first week of the year. Their biggest win was at Seattle when they beat them 27-13, and their biggest loss was against the Rams 34-7. Now we go to the Atlanta Falcons, who finished the year 7-9. Their biggest win was against the Panthers in Carolina. They beat them 29-3. Their biggest loss was against the Texans in Houston. They lost 53-32. Speaking of Carolina, that's our next team, the Carolina Panthers, who finished the year 5-11. Their biggest win was in Arizona, 38-20, where their biggest loss was against the Colts in Indy, 38-6. Our next team are the Bears. I always wanted to say that. They finished the season 8-8. Their biggest win was against the Redskins, 31-15. I know a lot of people say, well, what about them boys? Well, a lot of people figured Chicago was going to win that game. But their biggest loss was against the Chiefs, 26-3. Now we got the Cincinnati Bengals with a 2-14 record. Of the two wins, their biggest one was against the Jets, 22-6, and their biggest loss was against the Ravens, 49-13. They did clinch the #1 pick. Now we have the Cleveland Browns, who finished the season 6-10. Their biggest win was against the Ravens in Baltimore, 40-25. Their biggest loss was against the 49ers, 31-3. Next, we got them boys, the Dallas Cowboys, who finished the year 8-8. Their biggest win was the final week of the season against the Redskins, 47-16. Their biggest loss actually was against the Eagles, 17-9. Pretty much, that was the biggest loss because if they won that game, they would have been in the playoffs. Unfortunately, sorry, Cowboys. Next, we have the Denver Broncos, who finished the year 7-9. Their biggest win is shutting out the Titans 16-0, and their biggest loss was losing to the Chiefs 30-6. Now we got the Indianapolis Colts, who finished the year. The Colts finished the year 7-9. Their biggest win was against Carolina, 38-6, as we mentioned earlier, and their biggest loss was in New Orleans, 34-7. Our next team are the Jacksonville Jaguars, who finished the year 6-10. Their biggest win was against the Colts, 38-20, and their biggest loss was against the Texans, in which they played in London, 26-3. And now, go Chargers, go! Or in this pretty case, no Chargers, no. We're talking about the LA Chargers, who finished the year 5-11. Their biggest win was at Jacksonville, 45-10, and their biggest loss was against the Vikings, 39-10. Also from Los Angeles, the LA Rams finished their year 9-7, just missed making the playoffs. Their biggest win was against the Saints, 27-9, and their biggest loss was against the Ravens, 45-6. Now we got the Miami Dolphins, who finished the year 5-11. For me, their biggest win was in New England, the final game of the year. They beat them 27-24. And their biggest loss was at home against New England, 43-0. Kind of have a sort of like a balance between this team, don't they? My next team are the New York Football Giants, who finished the year 4-12. Their biggest win was against the Redskins, 24-3, while their biggest loss was against the Cowboys, 37-18. My next team are the Jets, Jets. The New York Jets, who finished the year 7-9, their biggest win was against the Oakland Raiders, 34-3. Their biggest loss was against Baltimore, 42-21. Now we got the Oakland Raiders. The final time they'll be known as the Oakland Raiders. As of now, they're actually moving to Las Vegas, becoming the Las Vegas Raiders. They finished the year 7-9. Their biggest win was against the Colts, 31-24, and their biggest loss was against the Jets, 34-3. I just literally mentioned that a few seconds ago. Now we got the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Steel Curtain. Well, what they used to be. They finished the year 8-8. A lot of injuries killed their momentum. Their biggest win was against the Bengals, 27-3. Their biggest loss was against the Patriots, 33-3. Next, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who finished the year 7-9. Jameis Winston threw for 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. How is that possible? Anyway, their biggest win was against the Rams, 55-40. And their biggest loss was against the Saints, 34-17. And finally, in this section, the Washington Redskins, who finished the year 3-13, their biggest win of the 3 wins was against the Panthers, 29-21, and their biggest loss was against the Cowboys, final game of the year, 47-16. And now we're going to the postseason teams. We're going to the teams that made the postseason with their record, their big win and loss, and the postseason results in that order. We're going to start with the Buffalo Bills, who finished the year 10-6. They won the wild card, which was the number 5 seed. Yeah, they were the number 5 seed. Their biggest win was against the Cowboys, 26-15 on Thanksgiving night, by the way. And their biggest loss was against the Eagles, 31-13. Playoff-wise, they lost to the Texans in overtime, 22-19. The next team are the New England Patriots, which I think a lot of people were shocked, but a lot of people were so happy that they lost because they're the Patriots. Anyway, they finished the year 12-4. They won the AFC East. They became the number 3 team, of course, since it's the wild card weekend, of course. Their biggest win was against the Dolphins, 43-0. And their biggest loss was against the Ravens, 37-20. In that wild card game, they did lose to the Tennessee Titans, 20-13. Shocking the world big time. Our next team are the New Orleans Saints, who finished the year 13-3, winning the NFC South. They were also the number 3 team in the playoff. Their biggest win was against the Colts, 34-7. Their biggest loss was against the Rams, 27-9. And in the wild card game, they lose to the Minnesota Vikings, 26-20. Now we're gonna fly, Eagles, fly. I'm sorry, my voice is all. The war on allergies has started, folks. So please forgive me if you notice my voice is more irritating than normal. But anyway, we're gonna go with the fly, Eagles, fly. They finished the year 9-7, winning the NFC East. They got the number 4 spot, of course, in the NFC. They their biggest win, week 16 against the Cowboys, 17-9, which helped them gain that division. But their biggest loss, was actually again against the Cowboys, 37-10 in their first meeting. And in the playoff, they lost to the Seattle Seahawks, 17-9. Well, that was the wild card weekend. Now we're going to the divisional round in this particular order. First off, we have the Minnesota Vikings, who finished the year 10-6, winning the wild card, which was the number 5 seed in the wild card. No, number 6. My apologies. Number 6. Their biggest win was against the Chargers, 39-10, and their biggest loss was against the Packers, 23-10. We mentioned they beat the Saints in the first round, but in the division round, they lost to the 49ers, 27-10. Next team we have are the Baltimore Ravens, which pretty shocked a lot of people again in this one. They finished the year 14-2, winning the AFC North and the number 1 seed in the AFC. Wow. Their biggest win was against the Dolphins, 59-10, and their biggest loss was against the Browns, 40-25. which I mentioned for Cleveland's their biggest victory, obviously. Um, of course, number one, they got the first round bye, but they lost to the Titans 28-12. Derrick Henry's a monster, man. Next up are my Houston Texans, who finished the year 10-6, the AFC South champions. Yay. They ended up with the number 4 seed in the AFC. Our biggest win was against the Falcons, 53-32. The biggest loss was against the Ravens, 41-7. I mentioned earlier they beat the Buffalo Bills in a comeback series, a comeback victory, but they lost bad to the Kansas City Chiefs, 51-31. Now we got the Seattle Seahawks, who finished the year 11-5 with the wild card victory, earning them the number 5 spot. Their biggest win was against the 49ers, 27-24. The significance that they gave the 49ers their first loss of the season. Their biggest loss was at home against the Cardinals, 27-13. I mentioned they beat the Eagles in a wild card game, but they lost to the Packers, 28-23 in this round. Now we reach the conference championship round, and these games were amazing, both sides. First off, we have the Tennessee Titans, who finished the year 9-7, earning them the number 6 in a wild card spot. That's what got them their big victories. Their biggest victory in the regular season was against the Jaguars, 42-20, but their biggest loss was against the Broncos. They got shut out 16-0. I mentioned earlier they beat the Patriots, they beat the Ravens, but they lost to the Chiefs 35-24. And then we have the Green Bay Packers, who finished the year 13-3, winning the NFC North, which got them the number 2 spot. Yeah, number 2 spot, obviously. Their biggest win was against the Giants, 31-13. Their biggest loss was against the 49ers, 37-8. I mentioned they got the first round, and they beat the Seahawks. However, they did lose to the Niners, 37-20. Seems like the Packers just can't beat the 49ers, can they? Which now leads me to the Super Bowl 54. As you guys already know, everyone's ready for it. San Francisco 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to go ahead and break down their records and what have you, and we'll go ahead and break all that taken care of. First off, the San Francisco 49ers, they finished the year 13-3. They won the NFC West division, number 1 seed in the NFC. Their biggest win was against the Panthers, 51-13. Their bad loss was against the Falcons, 29-22. They had the first round bye. They beat the Vikings and the Packers, so they practically own the NFC North, pretty much. And now we go to the Kansas City Chiefs, who finished the year 12-4, winning the AFC West, which got them the number 2 spot in the AFC. Their biggest win was against the Oakland Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders, 40-9. Their biggest loss, it's actually between both games with the same final score. They lost both times to the Texans and the Packers, 31-24. I mentioned they got the first round bye. The Chiefs did have payback on the Texans, and then they beat the Patriots in the AFC, so championship game. So there you have it, guys. All 32 teams broken down, their records, their best big wins, and their big losses. And I'll be right back because I'm getting ready to break down the Super Bowl, both teams, their comparisons by position, and who I think will win it all and hoist that trophy. Again, thank you guys so much for being here. You are all truly wonderful people. I love each and every single one of y'all. Be sure you hit the like button. Matter of fact, comment below your favorite team. Comment below. And I have a pretty funny idea on what a law we should have for Super Bowl Sunday. But yeah, hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe to yours truly. Share amongst your friends and family. It's yours truly, Rocky in the building. And I will see you later.